Hello everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, we're going to be covering all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. Before we get started, I just wanted to say welcome back. I know that I haven't had an episode up in the last couple of weeks. I've just been having a lot of different things, having to juggle a lot of different things. I just have not been able to get down to doing a show. I've also had some other things going on that I've had to deal with. But now I'm back, and hopefully we're going to be looking at a regular schedule from here on out, and I will update you guys if anything does in fact change. So, without any further ado, let's get caught up on some of the stories that have come out over the past few weeks. So, one of the biggest ones that came out, to me at least, because I love this franchise, and I've actually been waiting to see if they're going to do a third one, but it looks as though we are this close, like we are just about ready to get Bad Boys 3. Because it looks as though Sony is in talks with Joe Carnahan, the director of movies such as Smoking Aces, Narc, which is a fantastic movie. He also did A-Team. He recently did the movie Stretch. He also did The Grey. It looks as though they're in talks with him to possibly write and direct the film. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to be writing it or if it's just going to be him directing it. I think he's just directing it, but he might have a spec script that he might have handed in that they might be retooling. Okay. I am actually glad that Michael Bay is not going to be returning. I feel that there's nothing that he would be able to do to this franchise that he did not already do in Bad Boys 2. Because anybody out there who's seen Bad Boys 2 knows how over the top and unnecessary of a movie that was. But, aw damn, was it entertaining. It was, and it did not take itself seriously. I think that's one of the reasons why it worked so well. There's a lot of people out there that hate it. They found it too racist, too, homophobic, and all this kind of stuff. And personally, I didn't, because to me, they were making fun of people like that with the movie. That's how I took it. I took it as not necessarily a social commentary, because it's definitely not that. It does not have that much depth. But to me, it was just that they were making fun of those types of people. They were making fun of the extremists, and they were just having fun with it. And this was right around the time that movies had to start becoming more politically correct. And I do think, now this may just be coming from my opinion, but I do think that movies have suffered since then because they have to play in the political correct field. And I don't think a lot of times that it's necessary. I think that if people go in understanding, A, it's a movie. It's like Jim Jeffries, who's a hilarious comedian, goes out and says, he's like, okay, he did this one joke on gun control, which you guys need to check out. It's hilarious. But he talked about in there, he goes, okay, 50% of the people in this room are against gun control, 50% are for it. And the 50% of people who are against it, at least, 20% of those people understand that this is a comedy show and that, I'm just up here to try to make people laugh and just tell a joke, and that it's just a joke. And to not take it seriously. And then there's other people who do take it seriously. And to me, comedy is not, and Jerry Seinfeld just had a big thing about this as well. Comedy is not an area I feel that political correctness needs to be present, because those people are taking shots at everybody. And that's one of the things about comedy. People love to laugh at kind of being uncomfortable. And if they're in a room of people that collectively feel kind of uncomfortable, but that, like, if I was by myself, I'd be laughing my ass off about this. But because I'm in a group of people, I'm kind of nervous about it. And everybody's kind of like that. But when you get a group of people around that are like that, they can just have fun. You can just acknowledge that, oh my God, there are people that have this, batshit crazy idea about this. That's hilarious. It's not actually like that, but it's hilarious. And I kind of feel like that's what Bad Boys 2 was. Now, the question really is, where do they go from there? Because Bad Boys 2 has over-the-top action sequences, probably got one of the best car chase sequences out of any movie, save for maybe The Matrix Reloaded. With the cars launching and flipping and cars driving underneath them and all that. It was really exciting, really adrenaline pumping. But it's not the same as the first movie. The first movie didn't have necessarily the over-the-top action. It was more or less just like a buddy cop film with a little bit more serious. The second one took it a little bit further. The third one, with Joe Carnahan coming on board, I think could bring it kind of back to the first one while still giving us the over-the-top and insane action sequences. Because, I mean, anybody out there who's seen the A-Team, and the A-Team is a movie out there, it's almost a guilty movie pleasure because it's really fun. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that just came out last year. It's really fun. And it, again, doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's got some really kind of over-the-top action sequences. Now, the scene with the tank is a little too far over the top. It still was kind of fun, but you're like, all right, yeah, no, that can't happen. So we need to understand that that takes place in a different type of world. And so with Bad Boys, I think he can bring that level of audacity, you know, that level of extremist, and bring it into Bad Boys. I think this is a really good fit. And he also, especially watching Narc and Smoking Aces, the dude knows how to write that world, you know, write the world of the drug culture, but also give it kind of an over-the-top feel. You can tell with movies like The Grey that he's been able to do drama and he's been able to do character really well. Not to say that Bad Boys 3 is going to have a ton of character. I doubt it will. It'll just be fun. It'll be entertaining, but it'll be fast-paced. It'll be energetic. It'll have some serious moments in it, but most part of the movie will be brought to the surface with levity. Now, the interesting thing about this report, if it is in fact true, which they haven't come out and confirmed that it's true, Joe Carnahan took to his Twitter and stated, he's like, you know, I'm really surprised that this is being talked about. I'm not saying it's not true, but just surprised. You know, so I mean, there at least are talks. Whether or not they've gone through or if they've fallen through is another story. If this does go through, this is being positioned as Will Smith's next film, which means that it would likely start filming in the fall. I could see it probably because Suicide Squad started filming in April. I think it's going to go until the end of July, which means he could probably start shooting somewhere in August or September. If it's in Miami, you don't even really need to worry about the winter months all that much. But it'd just be great to see, you know, Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett back together again, you know, even 10 years later. I'm sure that Martin Lawrence isn't, you know, there is hurting for cash, and he's probably sitting there right by the phone saying, come on, ring, come on, ring. So, I mean, there's lots of possibilities whether or not this could actually happen. I hope, in fact, that it does, because funny enough, when Bad Boys 2 was coming out, Will Smith did an interview, and somebody asked, so what's the deal with number 3? Is there going to be a number 3? And he said, oh, yeah, you know, judging by the first one, we'll probably see it sometime around 2011, because there was an 8-year gap between the first and second, so he thought there was going to be an 8-year gap between the next two. And it wasn't really all that far off. I mean, I think that at a time it got to a point where they were like, yeah, we're not going to do it. Will Smith kind of got in a very weird spot in Hollywood. I think he's kind of breaking out of that now, which I hope to see because he's very charismatic. He owns the screen when he's on the screen. So, I mean, he's just fun to watch, and you want to watch him. So getting Bad Boys 3 up and running, I think, is the best way to go about it. I think that's going to be great for his career, or at least just the way that the fans perceive him. And that might bring dollars in, which will then mean studios will start looking at him for other projects. Because the last couple of movies he's done haven't been like box office successes. I mean, obviously Men in Black 3, but then he did After Earth, which was a box office bomb. He did Focus, which I don't think made a lot of money. So, I mean, you know, he needs something like this. He's going to get Suicide Squad, but it's part of an ensemble. We'll wait to see whether or not they've retooled the movie to kind of be a lead role for him again. But that's how it stands right now. So I could see this most likely coming out in 2016, maybe 2017. This is definitely going to be a summer film. So if they start shooting after Suicide Squad, it might be his next film, but it might not be directly after it, which could even mean that we might be waiting until 2017. The box office, or the summer box office, is right now being controlled by superhero movies. So those are going to be dominating a lot of those areas, but it's going to be nice to get some reprieve. I mean, okay, I got to talk about this for a minute. This is going to go on for another minute or two, but I just need to bring this up. Jurassic World. First off, if you haven't watched it yet, which I don't see how you haven't, because the entire world's probably seen it now, but that movie was, again, it was so much fun. I likened it to the first one. It wasn't as good. And I think a lot of people will say, well, there's no way that it can top it. And to a lot of people, that is very correct because of the age that we saw it at. I myself was 6 years old when I saw Jurassic Park for the first time. And that's one of the reasons why it stuck with me, because it was one of the first movies that I saw that was like that. And it didn't need to be at the time that it was the first movie that was like that. It needed to be the fact that at the age that I was, the effect that it had on me, along with a lot of other people in this industry right now, that's why you can't, it just won't happen. It will never get to the point where it's, okay, it's, you know, it reached the pinnacle of the first movie. I don't even think if the film quality-wise, the script-wise, could have actually been better, it wouldn't have been, because of what level of attachment we had to it at the age that we saw it at. So, but making $208.8 million domestically in its opening weekend, I mean, good God. And following that up with $106 million on its second weekend, I mean, what's to say what's going to happen with weekend 3? A lot of people are saying that it's going to be in third. I don't know. I think it's going to hold on to second place. I think Ted 2 is getting some pretty good reviews. Well, not pretty good, but it's getting decent reviews for a comedy. I have a feeling Ted 2 might actually take the weekend. Inside Out, they're all going to be close. All three of them are going to be very close. I'd say within $10 million. But I have a feeling Ted 2 is going to take it, followed closely by Jurassic World, or vice versa. It'll be either of those two, and then Inside Out will be third. Who knows? I mean, Inside Out might surprise everybody and actually come out on top. It's an animated film. It's a family film. It gets everybody to go to the theaters. Ted, clearly not a family film. But yeah, I'm just flabbergasted by the fact that it made as much money as it did. So, I mean, good God. But anyway, getting back to Bad Boys 3. If this movie ends up happening, look for more information to come out probably towards the end of the summer, if this is indeed true. But this could, again, be one of the many films, like Uncharted, that has just started to fall apart. Which is really sad about Uncharted. I reached out to Humberto Gonzalez about 2 weeks ago and asked him about the status of that. And so he came out with this new article about how, you know, it's stuck in development hell. Our friendly neighborhood, Tom Rothman, the guy who loves franchises, looks to be, you know, dipping his fingers in the pool again. And that he needs to go away. He really does. Tom Rothman pisses me off to no avail, because you look at Uncharted. Uncharted is the type of franchise. I know I'm getting off on a weird tangent here, but bear with me. Uncharted is the type of franchise that could be a modern day retelling of Indiana Jones. It could be very similar in that vein. World spanning, you know, huge set pieces and all this kind of stuff. And it's got a built-in audience. A lot of people want to go and see that if it's done right. And here we have Tom Rothman coming in and saying, no, we're going to slash the budget. There's not a lot of people in this world who I would love to physically assault, but he is one of them. Because, like, you look at the decisions that he's making and you wonder, how the hell did he get this job? How did he go from running one studio and almost destroying all of their built-in franchises? And I'm talking about the Alien and Predator franchises, the Die Hard franchise, the X-Men franchise. 3 huge franchises for Fox, and he almost torpedoed all of them because he was the one who said yes to Alien v Predator being PG-13. He actually made them do it PG-13. Die Hard 4, PG-13. You had X-Men 3. I'm butthurt right now. We need to beat Bryan Singer's Superman movie to theaters. Who cares about the quality? Oh, we got Deadpool in the new X-Men movie. Let's sew his mouth shut. We don't want to hear him talk. What? Like, how could you... That clearly shows somebody who only sees words on a page. He has no actual connection to it. I'm not saying that he has to, but I'm saying that that would help, because when you look at something that's being adapted, you don't need to stay completely faithful to it, but you need to understand the core concepts of it. And he has no core concept about anything whatsoever, which has me really scared about Sony. Again, I'm reiterating what I've said before, but Sony's already in a very dire situation. And he's right now just throwing any property that he can at the wall, and if 2 of them meet, perfect crossover. I mean, it's just stupid. But anyway, I hope to God that he doesn't say Bad Boys 3 needs to have like a clown in it. It needs to have, you know, like something really stupid involved in it to try to link it into a superhero movie. Like, you know, say that they go to arrest a guy and the guy's wearing a superhero costume and going like, we've had enough of this. You know, because I feel that he would actually want that being in there because he's had enough of superhero films. But I digress. I mean, I'm just done with Tom Rothman. I don't know how he got the job. I hope that he gets fired. I actually, this is one time where it sucks for all the people involved in the film, but I would love to see a lot of the decisions that he's made backfire on him and get him removed from his position. It would suck for everybody who's involved, the tens of thousands of people, but I mean, he's just going to keep affecting all these other people. And it's going to make it so that, you know, somebody comes in with a really great pitch on a really great movie that has franchise potential that could make the studio a lot of money, and he goes in, dips his fingers in, and just moves everything around and says, okay, perfect, you know. And now we've got a watered down version of the product that we already had that's not going to get enough critical reception and audience approval to greenlight a sequel. So you've just tarnished another franchise. So thank you very much, Tom Rothman. But yeah, Bad Boys 3, look for it if it ends up happening. Look for it around 2016, probably 2017 at the earliest. But yeah, when we do get more information about this, because I love this franchise, I will definitely update you guys on here. We now have officially cast our Spider-Man. So we now have Spider-Man. Tom Holland won out of the 1,500 kids that they were looking at. He won out the role. Now, it was reported about a week ago or so, I think it was about a week, maybe a little bit longer, that Asa Butterfield has actually lost the role. Like he dropped out of contention. And a lot of people were really surprised about that because up until that point, he was the fan favorite. Now, rumors have pointed to the fact that he was let go because he went on Reddit and was commenting about people, making fun of him about the casting of Spider-Man and how he said, like, no, I'm 6 foot club, bud, like, ease out. And I don't think that they wanted that tall of a Spider-Man, to be completely honest. I mean, when one report that I read, I can't remember where it was, if it was on Screen Rant or Collider or Heroic Hollywood, I'm not entirely sure. But they talked about how when they did the screen test, Robert Downey Jr. himself is like 5'8", 5'9", or something like that, maybe. And having a 6 foot Spider-Man towering over Iron Man, not to say that they couldn't use Apple boxes, but it would have been really kind of odd to have to do that, to have to adjust his filming schedule because of his height. So, I mean, that was one of the things that came out. He just wasn't working for the role. Maybe they're even considering him for the role of Harry Osborn. I mean, who knows? I think he could play a really good Harry Osborn. But Tom Holland, he already has work experience with Chris Hemsworth. He's in the upcoming Ron Howard film In the Heart of the Sea. He also was a scene stealer in The Impossible, the tsunami movie with Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor. He was fantastic in that movie. So, I mean, it's not really surprising that he won out. He's also very athletic. So, the big question now remains, he does look young. So, he looks like, I mean, he's just turned 19, I believe. So, looking at the fact that their initial plan is to have Spider-Man in at least 3 films, 3 Spider-Man movies, not just the other Marvel films, but 3 Spider-Man movies where he is in high school. And I like that. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, he's in high school, they're going to do the origin story again. No, the two are not connected at all, in any way, shape, or form. Stop making that argument, because it pisses me off every time I see it. Because he's in high school does not mean that, oh, we have to retread the origin story. No, Spider-Man always, or not always, but a lot of the time has been Spider-Man in high school. I mean, you look at The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, they did the origin story. He was in high school. But the problem is they cast a 30-year-old to play Spider-Man. So he could not, and same with Tobey Maguire. He was like in his late 20s, early 30s when they cast him in that role too. So you can't have somebody that old always playing a high school student. People are aware it's not the 90s anymore. You can't do that. So casting somebody that's younger allows them to do that. And it also allows them to bring to screen something we haven't seen before. How Spider-Man deals with being a high school student and being a superhero. That is fascinating. That is great material to use. And because we're not only going to be introduced to a new world of Superman without the origin story, that's going to give a whole lot longer runtime in the movie to deal with these issues, to deal with him not only battling a big supervillain, which most likely is going to happen. I'm hoping for either Kraven or Mysterio. Mysterio's one that they haven't had the ability to do up until very recently. And now that they do, I really want to see him fully utilized. But Kraven would be really cool. I just think that you should either introduce Kraven in the first or second movie, not have him defeat him per se, but have him kind of resolve his difference with him at that time, and then have him come back in like Spider-Man 4 or 5 and do Kraven's Last Hunt. Because that's a great storyline, but it has to deal with an older Spider-Man. So allowing them to be able to do that, I think, would work really well. But even on top of all this stuff, they also announced John Watts, who recently did a Sundance movie called Cop Car, which for the most part has gotten pretty good acclaim. Like, a lot of people have really liked it. There have been other people who said it didn't really work for them. They felt that the pacing was off and all this kind of stuff. But this, to me, is very, very reminiscent of the Mark Webb situation. Whereas when Mark Webb was cast, yeah, he was good at characters. But the problem that I can see happening is they're not experienced enough in the world of studio filmmaking that they can get bullied. They can get pushed around. And the studio can come in and say, you're going to do this, 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 and this. And he'll go, oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me direct this. You know, I mean, like, I just hope that that's not going to be the case. I hope that, you know, he's willing to say, I'm not doing that. I'm not directing that. And then maybe have the project be scrapped or him be removed or whatever. It would hold his integrity. If it delayed the property, because, I mean, if a director comes on and says, no, I'm going to leave because they wanted me to do this and I was not going to do it, I applaud that. I absolutely do, because it holds their integrity. I mean, it's not just somebody who's a work for hire. Now, the other side of that coin is the fact that it's their job. And when you're a director, you're brought on to bring about your vision of the property, not if the studio wanted to direct it themselves, they should just direct it themselves. Hire one of the producers to direct it. Unless you have somebody that comes in who's just a puppeteer, because it's not going to work. Look what happened with Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was made by a committee, and you could tell. So, looking at this, I think it could work. I just hope that he has enough... What's the word I want to use? Screw it. I hope he has enough balls to be able to stand up to Tom Rothman, the lucky boy Tom Rothman, is going to come in and say, Spider-Man, nah, he should be in a green and yellow suit. Because Tom Rothman's a goddamn moron. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. I just went over that already. I don't want to talk about it again. So, one of the interesting things about this as well, though, is that Kevin Feige recently did an interview where he was talking about Spider-Man, talking about, the casting and all this stuff. And he did mention, he said, without spoiling anything, without going over certain story details, that is something that is possible. In talking about other MCU characters appearing in Spider-Man, or them using Spider-Man characters in the MCU world. So he said, we can do it. It's possible. It's part of the deal. So that is something that's really intriguing and interesting. But whether or not that actually comes to fruition is another story. I would just like to see some characters appear in the Spider-Man movie. I don't necessarily need Iron Man, although that'd be cool. Have background characters. Have Ant-Man show up. I mean, that'd be pretty interesting. See some other characters. Maybe even use the Spider-Man movie to introduce other MCU characters. Maybe even have Daredevil come in, because their partnership in the comics has been so cool. And now with Punisher coming on season 2 of Daredevil, that's an even big... There's so many possibilities. There's so many areas that they could do this that could work really well, that I'm excited for it. I think that this is actually the right way to go. As long as Marvel has their say. Marvel has shown a track record of being able to do things right, especially when dealing with their own property. Now, if Sony comes in and overrules Marvel, that would be the dumbest decision that they would ever made. Second, actually, to hiring Tom Rothman. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see the development of this property, because this movie, they're going to get filming. I think they said that filming on this project is probably going to start this spring, because they said Doctor Strange starts filming in November, I think, and then Guardians 2 starts filming in February. Not long after that, both Spider-Man and Thor 3 will begin production. So Spider-Man most likely is going to start production around April or May, and it's going to be coming out July of the following year. So they've got enough time to work on that. I'm just really interested to see what kind of, what's the suit going to look like? Is it going to be that much of a variation of what we already seen? Is he going to have the actual web shooters, or is he going to have the biological ones? There's still lots of areas that they could work on, that they could, take from the source material, try to improvise and do new things and all this kind of stuff. There's lots of room for them to work on. I am confident in the fact that Kevin Feige came out and said that he really loved John Watts' take on the movie. They loved his pitch. And here's hoping that they allow him to bring that to fruition, but only time will tell. The filming is going to begin most likely in about April or May, and it's going to be released in July 28th of 2017. We will, however, be seeing Spider-Man first in Captain America Civil War, which will be opening up on May 6th of next year. So until we get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. It was reported a couple of weeks ago that Chris Hemsworth has actually joined the cast of the upcoming adaptation, or the remake, I should say, of Ghostbusters. Now, the interesting thing was that came out that he was going to play the receptionist, and he was like, Paul Feig tweeted out, "Our receptionist, hashtag Ghostbusters." And it was kind of confusing, because on the one hand, I almost wanted to start an argument with, how dare Hollywood take an originally female character and make it a white a white male? There's already enough controversy about female characters and female roles in movies, and now they're taking them away. But I didn't do that. But no, he's going to play the receptionist, the character originally played by Annie Potts. Now, originally, it was just, he's just going to be some, some good-looking beefcake that the girls can all just stare at and swoon over and all this kind of stuff. But then more information started to come out. Now, whether or not this is indeed true remains to be seen. But if you guys don't want to know, or you haven't read into this, then you can skip over this. You can look in the description. You can see when the next story is going to start and just go to that one, because this might deal with some spoilers about the film. So you've had fair warning. So I'm going to be talking about spoilers, potential spoilers for Ghostbusters. So Chris Hemsworth's character looks like he might actually be kind of the new Gozer of the movie. Now, whether or not they're retreading the same plot is another story. We know that Paul Feig wanted to do a remake because he did not want a world that is already aware of ghosts. You know, that you know, 30 years later, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's a ghost, whatever. It doesn't scare me. He wanted a world that had not been affected by that yet, and so that's why they're remaking it. So with this, I don't know if they're going to retread the same storyline from the first movie, but he most likely will end up playing somebody who gets possessed or taken over by the big bad of the film. And they would either have to rescue him, or they would actually have to fight him in the third act, which would make him kind of one of the bigger roles, because he originally was offered the role and he passed on it. And then they apparently went back and they beefed up the role for him, and then he agreed to it. So what that means is another story. I really don't know what they could have done to the role, but he could have the Rick Moranis type role, like a combination of the receptionist. I'm drawing a blank on her name. Not the real actress, the character name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But the receptionist character and the Rick Moranis character, they might actually be combining those two into one character, which that might work. I mean, my only hesitation with this project has always been that Paul Feig never envisioned this other than it being entirely female. And again, that's almost like reverse sexism. Now, I'm not trying to start anything, so don't jump all over anything. But to me, the whole problem is that, well, this should get more exposure than this, when the actual argument is for everybody to be equal. I don't see why it should be, this needs to be all women. Why? Why does it need to be all men? Why not just get the right people for those roles? And I mean, we do live in a world now where there is a big shift that's going on. And it's in the situation where if you have two people, let's base it on test scores. It's just as a hypothetical. You have two people based on test scores. They both score 98%. They're both applying for this position. They both scored 98% on whatever test they had them take. Both of them are equal in every way, shape, or form in terms of their capabilities of doing the job and all that stuff. One of them's white, one of them's black. Which one do you take? Well, in this day and age, they would normally take the black, or they would take the Latino, or they would take the Asian, or, you know, the Native American, or whatever it is, because of equality. And it's almost going to start that everything's going to start going against white people. You know, I mean, and again, I'm not trying to start anything, so don't dislike the video because I said that. Don't comment because I said that or anything. I'm just basing my opinion. Not stating that white people need to remain at the top. That is not it at all. My argument has always been for equality, not about replacing who's on the top. There should not be a top and then a second and third and fourth. It should all just be equal. And I just hate the way that everything's going now, you know? I mean, again, going back to being politically correct, it's all becoming like, oh, you can't say that, you can't say that, can't say that. And there was a comedian who was defending, again, going back to the thing that Jerry Seinfeld was talking about. There was a comedian that came out and was defending him and stating that, and I actually posted this on my Facebook. Oh no, I'm not going to pull it out. But I'll just try to remember. This will be paraphrased, but essentially it was, freedom of speech now only works for any minority of any kind, whether it be, you know, the homosexuals, the African Americans, the Latinos, whoever is considered a minority, are generally the only groups now that get to have free speech. Free speech is no longer for white people because we're not allowed to say anything. But yet you can have an African American come out and, you know, say something derogatory, but we can't say anything back. You know, and it's just, it's flipping itself when it should be balancing itself. We're in 2015. There should not be difference in equality. There shouldn't be. I know this is not movie related at all, but it always gets me ticked off. I'll get back to talking about Ghostbusters now. So, I mean, Chris Hemsworth being on board, I like it. He's a great actor. He's a great comedian. I mean, we've seen him do comedy in the Thor movies and in the Avengers movies. He's got Vacation coming out next month, which looks to be absolutely hilarious. And seeing him be able to do this role, I think it might work. Pairing with Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, I mean, it could work. You know, it could really work. It's just, my only hesitation right now is after seeing those set leaks, those set images that came out, the hell is Kate McKinnon wearing? Not just the overalls, the way that she has her hair, those stupid glasses. I hope she's not like a type of character. I really hope not. I would be so mad if they do that, because that is an over characterization of something when it's not even going to be funny. It's just going to be like, okay, I feel like I'm watching a movie for 8-year-olds. Like, this is not funny. So I hope that was just the wrong still that was taken, and I can't wait to see some official pictures that are released from the project. But I mean, the filming is already begun. And the movie is going to be opening up next July. So, I mean, expect to see a lot more set videos or set pictures come out over the next few months while they film the movie. They're filming in Boston, which is going to be taking over for New York City, which is a little surprising. I mean, not surprising budget-wise, because the movie has like a $150 or $180 million budget or something like that. Like, it's huge. So I'm actually curious to see what they're able to do with this movie. And with it filming right now, we're bound to get more stuff in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. The movie's going to be opening up on July 22nd, 2016. Let me know what you guys think about the Ghostbusters property in general. Let me know in the comment section below. And if we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. The other day, Roland Emmerich and the cast of Independence Day 2 held a live Q&A that was about a half an hour long. They answered a bunch of questions about the movie, but they also unveiled a couple of really cool things. First off, they unveiled the official title, which we've been wondering, is it going to be ID42? Is it going to be ID Forever? What's the title going to be? It's officially Independence Day Resurgence. I don't care about the title. I can't wait for the movie because I love Independence Day. And a lot of people have said, I was watching Schmoes Know last night, and they were saying about how the movie didn't hold up. And I beg to differ. I watched it maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. It still holds up. I mean, yeah, the CGI looks a little dated, but I mean, it holds up, to me personally, it holds up a lot better than the Star Wars movies do, the original trilogy movies do. And when people say that, you know, those still hold up, it's when you're looking at it, it's like, well, yeah, they do, because you can still watch them now and you're not making fun of the CGI. When you watch Independence Day now, you're not making fun of the CGI because it works. Like, a lot of it works. And the main reason that it works is because the majority of the film was done using models. And then they did CGI when they had to. And that's obviously not what they're doing now because of the advances in technology and all this kind of stuff. I do hope, though, one of my worries about this film is because they're going to be doing everything in CGI in this film. Is there going to be enough time to finish the special effects? Because we've seen that before, where movies just don't have enough time to finish the CGI. One of the most prevalent movies like that I can think of is probably The Mummy Returns, because of a lot of the CGI in that movie was lackluster, especially The Rock at the end. They just didn't have the time at the end to finish the final render. So, looking back on this, though, a couple of cool things that we learned about this. First off, they did confirm that humanity has, in fact, kind of not reverse engineered, because they can't, well, reverse engineering is kind of the right explanation. They can't actually create the alien technology, but they can harvest it. So they've been able, we got to see like a hybrid jet, where it's not only like a regular jet with jet engines, but it's also got like the alien things on the wings. So it looks like it can hover, and it's going to be really cool to see that thing in action. We got to see what's called a moon tug, which I'm pretty sure they said is a forklift on the moon, essentially. But that means we're getting a moon base. Like, this is going to be so cool to see, because I've loved movies that have had moon bases before, except for Pluto Nash. But then you look at Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers was a movie that had this really cool defense system around the moon that you got to see for all of a minute. Like, it wasn't on screen for hardly any time at all. And that was really interesting to me to see, what kind of operations go on down there. How does that work with the regular defense systems from Earth? Do they have other things that are orbiting the planet that are going to defend it if the moon is on the other side when the aliens are coming from this way? I mean, what's the story with that? So there's a lot of really cool opportunities there for them to explore. Jeff Goldblum is going to be the head of what's called the Earth Space Defense, which is a really stupid title. Like ESD, that to me is just a really dumb title. Okay, I need to address this. There, to me at least, now correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but there are two glaring plot holes here. First, in the first movie, when Dr. Oaken was being basically strangled by that tentacle, and he was telepathically communicating with President Whitmore. For those of you who haven't seen Independence Day, this should sell you on it already. But when he's telepathically communicating with the President of the United States, the President finds out, like he's able to see their thoughts, and he goes, I know what they're planning to do. They're like locusts. They move from planet to planet. Their entire civilization. And they devour everything that they can. Now, that to me means all of the aliens were in that giant mothership. And they blew up the mothership at the end of the movie. How then can they return? They killed them all. Now, unless they try to retcon that and say that that was just one scouting party or something like that, and we're getting an entire armada coming in, that's another story. I just don't see that. To me was a big glaring hole when they said, oh, the aliens are coming back. How? They are all dead. But then the second one, touching onto that, is Dr. Oaken. Because Dr. Oaken clearly died in the first movie. Spoiler alert. Dr. Oaken died. He was strangled by that thing, and then I don't know if any of the bullets actually hit him when they shot through the glass. But even on top of that, Adam Baldwin's character walked over to him, checked his pulse, like he got that thing off, checked his pulse. He was laying there like, ah. And, he checked his pulse, and he looks up, and he just shakes his head. So, like, he's dead. How is he back? Like, how does he come back? I mean, they said we're not going to give away how he does. But to me, there's no logical way that he could have come back unless you just miraculously had like a reanimation program or reanimation pod that was in the base. Now, if they go back and say that, that's a very clever retcon, but it's just one line of dialogue. I might be okay with that. But to me, it's like, how? Like this, there's leaps of logic that are being taken here that didn't necessarily need to be taken. I mean, unless it comes up that Dr. Oaken is a very crucial part of this movie, I don't see why they needed to bring him back other than nostalgia, and that's going to take people away from the movie. When you do something for a nostalgic purpose, but you do it to fit the story, like what they did a lot of the times in Jurassic World, it works. You don't think anything of it. But when it's glaring just for nostalgia, then it's out of place. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just hope that that's not the case. But with this movie, like, there's a chance for them to bring and to show us some incredible sequences of destruction like we've never seen before. Because Roland Emmerich has teased that there are things in this movie we've never seen before. We've heard that before. Now, never seen before, meaning, is it going to be an alien spaceship the size of Earth? Because all that is what we've seen before, just bigger. That's it. We've seen it. You just made it bigger, but we've seen it. So I hope that's not the case. But on top of that, one of the reasons why Independence Day works so well is because they coupled the sequences of destruction and chaos with great moments of humor and levity and character. And I'm looking at you, Judd Hirsch. I mean, we know that he's in the movie. We know that he's got a prominent role in the film. Apparently his role is about getting to David, getting to Jeff Goldblum's character. Now, what that means in terms of his screen time is another story. Roland Emmerich movies have always excelled. The one thing that every movie out there has excelled at is they're generally always ensemble pieces. So they're always dealing with several different characters. Like, you look at the original Independence Day. It's following the Vivica A. Fox character. It's following the president. It's following Jeff Goldblum's character. It's following Will Smith. And eventually they all do kind of meet up. And then once they meet up, they then all split off again. So you get Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum going up into the mothership, the alien ship. You have everybody in the command center down in the sub-basement of that base. You have the fighter pilots actually fighting on the ground or fighting in the air, trying to destroy all the ships. So, I mean, it's a great ensemble, and I really think that this could happen again. I just hope that he realizes that he's not as funny as he thinks he is, because a lot of the humor in movies like 2012 and White House Down didn't work. Actually, White House Down is a movie that if you went and watched it again, or if you were able to take it into an editing program and you cut out a lot of the stupid humor and dialogue, it's actually a really good movie. You have to cut out a lot of dialogue in the movie, but it actually is kind of a good movie. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's pulpy, I guess is the right word. But the movie's currently filming. I think they've been filming now for about 2 or 3 weeks. And the movie's going to be coming out on June 24th. I do hope they push that back a week. I hope that it comes out, on July 3rd or something like that. Like, comes out around Independence Day, because it's called Independence Day, so it needs to come around that, not a week earlier. So I hope they do push the release date a week. But if they don't, it still is coming out around that time. And this movie, I think, is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. It's not going to be like a Rotten Tomatoes 70% or higher, 80% or higher, although it would be surprising to see if it did, and I would welcome it if it did. But I have a feeling this is just going to be a fun, turn your brain off, leave your brain at the door type of film. I have a feeling it will be that, and I'm hoping that it will be that, because the first one was just so much fun and entertaining. this movie has the potential to do the same thing, and I hope that it does it. So, as it stands right now, though, the movie's currently filming. Hopefully, we're going to get some more images and stuff like that in the next couple of weeks or months as the filming keeps on progressing. But if we don't, when we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for this episode of Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click that subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever a new video is posted. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And also check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. If you ever have a topic or question you'd like to have talked about on the show, you can go ahead and put a comment in the comment section, or you can email me at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. And in every Friday episode, I'll try to answer as many as I can. I still do have those those questions lined up from before, and I will be answering them on the next episode 100%, so don't you guys worry about it. But if you have more, send them on in and I'll try to get to them as well. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.